In this video, I'm going to take a look at Goblin Slayer, the tabletop RPG game, but I'm also going to take a look at Sword World 2.5. I picked up this game a while back. I didn't know anything about it. I do know about Goblin Slayer. I have watched the animes, and I have a couple of mangas for it and whatever. And I don't know if people are entirely familiar. It's kind of an adultish manga. I can't really show too much in it. It's pretty brutal, actually. So I was going through a manga shop, and I found this book here, the Goblin Slayer, and I thought, wow, that looks neat. If nothing else, it's just a huge book. I love huge RPG games, so I thought, well, I'll buy it and I'll take a look at it. And I was pretty impressed with it. I think it's pretty neat. Full disclosure, I haven't had a chance to play it, but I have looked through it. I haven't read it word for word, but just taking a look at it, I thought it was interesting. And I'd never seen this system before, and I found it fascinating. It's very intricate and robust, it seems like. So that got me thinking, that got me investigating what this game was based on. And what I found out this game is based on is Sword World 2.5, which is a game that took about 10 years to develop, and it's from Japan. And I found a community on Reddit that has translated the rule books from Japanese into English. And in Japan, it's the #1 selling tabletop RPG. Now, it only uses 6-sided dice, 2 of them, and but it's got a very neat system for using them. It has a power rating, so it gives a rating, and then you roll on a chart, and it gives you results that way. Now, the monsters just you roll 2 6-sided dice, and you add a number to it. But for the players, they actually use a table, and I imagine for the NPCs too, as well. So you can also find, or the Reddit community that I mentioned has about 1,000 people, over 1,000 people. And if you're interested in trying out Sword World, I recommend joining it and taking a look. There's lots of resources there and information. So in Japan, like I say, this was the #1 game. Apparently it sold 10 million copies. And the actual Sword world is set in a world called Raxia. Now, I think that there are other worlds or places in the world that it's set into. It's very complicated, and like I say, I haven't actually played it. I've just looked through the rules. I would love to play it. It looks actually really neat. It reminds me of the old game books from the old RPG game books with the tables and so forth. Or not, for computer games, the playthrough guides, the old ones. I don't think they make them anymore. But it reminds me of those, just with lots of tables and lots of things like this. This isn't for sword art, but you get the idea. That's sort of what the rule books remind me of. And so it's got a very feature-rich game system. There's three core books. Each one's well over 400 pages. So there's lots of information, lots of rich details. In a way, it sort of reminds me of Rollmaster. Just in its in the number of spells and so forth that it has, and the richness of characters, the diversity of characters and stuff. Reminds me a little of Rollmaster that way. It also sort of reminds me of, with the power rankings, it has, your power, and then you roll your 6-sided dice, and then according to what you roll, you get a different score. Kind of reminds me of the old school armor class tables, where you'd roll a 20-sided die, and you'd look up the armor class, and you'd see whether you hit or not. Kind of reminds me of that. I'm a fan of that. I know it adds a little bit of extra crunch to the game, but I think it's worth it. I think it's neat. It's got lots of different magic types. It has a really neat thing that I like. I mean, I love anime, I love manga, so anything from Japan I think is pretty cool. And so one of the things is that if you get resurrected too many times, you start getting something called Soul Scar. I mean, that's absolutely awesome. Yeah, another thing that reminds me of Rollmaster, just little things through it that remind me of Rollmaster a bit, and that, of course, is a selling point for me, is that you can grow your ability scores. Now, I know most RPGs you can do that, but it's just the way that it's done. So it has another neat feature in it too, something called Fellows, which very much reminds me of henchmen in D&D. But Fellows are sort of player characters that have developed to a certain point, and then you can publish them as Fellows online. And then once all these Fellows are there, you can just sort of pick which ones you want to add to your game. I think that's really a neat idea. There's a ton of spells. The spells are really neat. They've got lots of details in them, and they look like they would be pretty easy to implement. So, and that's the other thing I like, is lots of the magic items have that crazy anime feeling to them, which I love. I mean, it's one of the things that attracts me to anime. And it's got a very detailed GM section for the world. Like I say, it's set in a world called Araxia, so it explains that all is. And then there are lots of supplements for it and other published stuff that have been translated into English. So I'll provide in the comments down below, I'll put in a link to the Google Docs where you can find this. You can find Sword World translated into English. So that's it. I just want to take a look, let you guys, anybody that hasn't known about this before, might want to try out a new system, or just likes anime, manga stuff. It's a neat game to try out. All right, that's it. Quick video. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time. Bye.